Have you ever noticed how some people seem to effortlessly attract wealth, while you are grinding day and night with barely anything to show for it? You've read the books, you've put in the hours, you've done everything right. But what if the problem isn't your work ethic? What if you are just planting seeds in the middle of winter? J.P. Morgan, America's first billionaire, famously said, "Millionaires don't use astrology. Billionaires do." He wasn't talking about daily horoscopes. He was talking about the hidden architecture of time. And once you understand it, everything changes. Most people hear the word astrology and think of vague predictions, personality memes, and mystical entertainment. But the deeper tradition was never about escaping reality. It was about reading rhythm, the rhythm of nature, decisions, relationships, money, collective emotion, and the nervous system. Time is not empty. It has texture. The most powerful people in history have always understood that the question is not only, what should I do? The deeper question is, when should I do it? The same action can produce completely different results depending on the moment. A seed planted in spring becomes a harvest. The same seed planted in frozen ground becomes a lesson in timing. And this applies far beyond business, investing, or major life decisions. You can buy the same object at two different moments, and somehow it carries a completely different feeling. One thing serves you for years, feels aligned, useful, almost alive in your space. Another breaks quickly, gets lost, irritates you, or never truly belongs to your life. The object may be the same, but the state you were in when you chose it, the timing of the decision, and the energy behind the purchase were not. We have all experienced this in ordinary ways. A conversation that would have healed something if it happened one day later becomes an argument because it happened in the wrong state. A project launched from clarity moves differently than a project launched from panic. A trip, a contract, a relationship decision, even a simple message can carry a completely different outcome depending on the inner and outer weather of the moment. This is why some people appear to move effortlessly. They are not always smarter. They are not always working harder. They are often more attuned to the cycle they are in. They know when to act, when to wait, when to launch, when to observe, when to speak, and when inaction has more force than effort. Most people treat every day as if it carries the same energy. They demand the same productivity, the same clarity, the same emotional force from themselves, regardless of what is happening internally or around them. Then they call the collapse, burnout, bad luck, or lack of discipline. William D. Gann, one of the most mysterious figures in financial history, built his philosophy around the idea that time, geometry, and human emotion move in repeating patterns. His methods are still debated, but the central principle reaches far beyond markets. Human beings move in cycles. Desire moves in cycles. Confidence moves in cycles. Creativity moves in cycles. Even the ability to make clean decisions moves in cycles. Today, this language has changed. Institutions and strategists do not need to call it astrology. They call it cyclical analysis, behavioral patterns, seasonality, sentiment tracking, timing windows, and risk modeling. Different vocabulary, same obsession. Understanding when conditions support movement and when they do not. Because nothing in life happens in a vacuum. Money, love, health, creativity, conflict, opportunity, all of it moves through people. And people are not purely rational instruments. We are biological, emotional, rhythmic beings shaped by sleep, light, hormones, weather, stress, fear, hope, and the atmosphere of the collective. This is where lunar cycles become interesting, not as superstition, but as one of many rhythms worth observing. For centuries, people planted, harvested, traveled, fasted, rested, gathered, and made decisions according to natural cycles. Not because they were primitive, but because they were paying attention. They understood that the invisible quality of a moment can shape the visible result. You do not need to build your life around planets or wait for perfect cosmic permission before taking action. But you do need to stop pretending every moment is equal. Some periods support expansion. Others demand refinement. Some moments invite risk. Others ask for preservation. Sometimes your intuition is sharp. Sometimes your nervous system is simply overloaded. Here is a simple practice. For the next 30 days, track 3 things every morning: your energy, your emotional state, and your mental clarity. Rate each from 1 to 10. Then note the moon phase: new, waxing, full, or waning. Do not interpret too early. Do not dramatize. Just observe. At the end of the month, look for patterns. When do your best decisions happen? When do you overreact? When do you buy things impulsively? When do you feel most creative? When do you feel calm enough to build, repair, choose, or release something? Which days feel naturally expansive? Which days ask for quiet? This is not about prediction. It is about self-knowledge. About noticing when your decisions come from clarity and when they come from pressure. About seeing the difference between intuition and impulse. Between aligned action and restless movement. The deeper secret is not that billionaires use astrology. The deeper secret is that powerful people respect timing. They understand that life is not a straight line. It is a current. If you cannot read the current, you waste strength fighting invisible resistance. Most people live in reaction. A crisis appears, they react. Energy drops, they judge themselves. A relationship shifts, they panic. Motivation disappears, they assume something is wrong. But sometimes nothing is wrong. Sometimes you are simply in a winter phase, trying to force a summer harvest. One of the great illusions of modern life is the belief that you should be the same person every day. Always productive, always available, always clear, always ready. But nature does not move like that. The ocean has tides. The moon has phases. The body has rhythms. Emotions rise and fall. Creativity opens and closes. Even life itself moves in seasons. When you begin watching your own cycles, you may discover that low-energy days are not always failures. Sometimes they are integration. Confusion is not always a sign of being lost. Sometimes it is the space before a new direction forms. Withdrawal is not always weakness. Sometimes it is the body preparing for expansion. This does not remove responsibility. It refines it. Instead of forcing everything through willpower, you begin asking better questions. What season am I in? Is this a moment for action or observation? Am I choosing from clarity or reacting from exhaustion? Is this intuition or fear disguised as insight? The architecture of time is hiding in plain sight, in the tides, in sleep, in emotion, in impulses. In the strange days when everything flows, and in the heavy days when even simple things resist you. So before you force your next move, pause. Before you quit, pause. Before you launch, buy, invest, confess, confront, leave, or burn everything down because one difficult week convinced you nothing is working. Pause. Look at the cycle. Look at your state. Look at the season. Mastery is not control over time. It is alignment with it. And those who understand timing will always appear lucky to those who don't. The current is already moving. The only question is, are you fighting it or learning how to flow?